right, everybody. We have another very special guest for y'all. Another returning guest. Like I said, this is the month of returning guests. So everybody, welcome back to the show, Dalton Shannon. Welcome, Dalton.
Hey, it's good to be back.
So,
How's it been?
it's been good. How have you been?
Oh, nose to the grind, doing podcast after podcast after podcast. It's the season of marketing right now, so it's what is sleep?
I mean,
Really?
so much like Ron Swanson himself, you just grinded that mustache right off.
Yes, yeah. No, I had one of those infamous Shannon family manic episodes, and I was like, all right, and it was gone. That's not to say it will never come back, because I liked that mustache quite a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, you
So
wore
no
it well.
mustache right now.
I'm always jealous of people who can grow a nice mustache because if you can't tell, although I do have I think I have a pretty good beard.
Great beard.
I am missing this little piece, what I call the reverse Hitler, because it's that
Oh,
one
right.
part that he always grew out.
Mm-hmm.
Jokingly obvious, everybody, but I can't grow that one piece. So
Interesting. I've never seen like such a pronounced divide between the lanes of the mustache. That's wild. I
ironically, a lot of German blood in me too. All right. Let's get the jokes are going to be canceled aside.
Hitler won't get you canceled as long as you still call him an asshole. It's fine.
He is. My grandparents fled Germany to get away from him, so I'm solid. So comics, Dalton. Comics. We're here to talk about comics. So let's. You do have a book on Kickstarter. We will get to that because that's obviously why you're here today. But let's talk a little bit about some of the other stuff because since we last talked, which really wasn't, it was only a few months ago. So impressive that so much has happened since then. You guys have released Mechaton through Scout. So I'd love to talk, like, how was that process for you? You did the Kickstarter for Mechaton, finished that up, and now the first issue is in comic shops everywhere.
Yeah.
How's that gone for you guys?
Pretty good. Yeah, March was pretty busy because we all of March we were doing the Kickstarter for Mechaton number 4 and 5, and we're actually gearing up to release number 4 here soon. I think we just finished a lettering pass on it, so that should be hitting inboxes soon. But toward the end of March is when Mechaton actually hit comic shops through Scout, and that's been great. Scout has always been great to work with. They're hands off, so they let us just kind of make our book, and they're there to kind of like, steer the cart if they need to. It's like, hey, here's like some grammatical errors. This plot point doesn't make sense, that kind of stuff. And they're able to. The book that hit the shelves is fantastic. It's better than the issue we released through Kickstarter originally because we were able to get like some actual professional eyes on it and see what we were missing the first time around. So you want to make sure to grab that at your local comic shop because it's like a remastered version of issue number 1 if you've already got it. But no, they've been great. Comic shops seem to have liked it well enough. I mean, we're not breaking the top 100 in terms of sales figures, but all ages indie books hardly ever do.
Books not named Spider-Man rarely do.
But yeah, it's been great, and we'll get to work with them again later this year when they release the trade out to stores. So yeah, no complaints here. We've been having a real good time with it. We also did a free comic book day earlier this month. So my local shop had ordered quite a few copies of the Scout issue, so people were coming. We did a signing there. Everyone seemed pretty excited about it.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's something that with a lot of my people I now consider friends or people we had in the show that talk about going from crowdfunding to a publisher, just that extra set of eyes, the quote unquote professional set of eyes to get on it, to see like, listen, you're doing this really well, but this can improve, change it, stuff that when you're in that vacuum of creating and you're trying to do it all yourself, things get missed. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is.
This is definitely like the imposter syndrome talking, but it also, like, whether I like it or not, it adds an air of legitimacy for me. It's like, oh, I am on a shelf in a comic shop, and that gives a nice little boost to the ego every now and again.
It does, and it's nice to have in your, Twitter profile or whatever
Yeah,
social
yeah,
media you choose, published by Scout Comics or
yeah.
whatever publisher it is. But
End of the day,
it,
it doesn't really matter, but like it makes me feel good.
I think it does to an extent. I think when you do that, certain people, not me, but like certain people in the consumer side are like, oh, like he's been published. This guy's actually
Yeah.
done. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just, I do think there's people out there that see
Oh, for
that
sure.
and
No,
it,
it is, but we have a really strong audience that has showed up for all of our Kickstarter books.
yes,
So whether Scout or Image or whoever publishes the books or not, like we're still published,
yeah.
and we have the readership to prove it. So it is nice to have the little bit of validation from mom and dad, but end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Well, hopefully for you guys, the big thing is that a new audience has found your book,
Yes.
and even if they just support it through the direct market, that's a new customer base or new
Mm-hmm.
fan base, a better word. But hopefully some of them jump over to Kickstarter and check out the other stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, especially at Free Comic Book Day, you got well, one, it was way better than just doing like a regular comic convention because people were there specifically for comic books at Free Comic Book Day
Yep.
instead of just trying to see Chris Evans. So it was really cool because they would come to the table, and if it was a family, they would see Mechaton. And we had like the first three issues. So they would, of course, grab all three issues. Or if they saw Frankenstein, they would grab the two issues of Frank we had and our horror anthology, Descent into Dread. Or we'd have some people be like, I want to try it all. And then we even had the little standee for our new Kickstarter project, Depths, where you could like scan the code and go straight to the Kickstarter page. And we had a few people do that. So like it you got to see like the whole spread of the books that the fandom of the books that we're making them for. So you get the families and you get the guys who love everything and the metalheads and yeah. So it feels like we're reaching a wide audience.
That's great, and I'd love to hear your perspective from this because, from my point of view, I say this a lot where I selfishly want kids to read comics because I want comics to be around in 30 years when I'm
Mm-hmm.
retiring. Fingers crossed. Um, but from your point of view, like, is it at all more special when like a kid picks up Mechaton and seeing a kid enjoy it?
It is. And there's no doom and gloom over here in this corner. Comics aren't going anywhere. Comics are more popular than ever, especially with kids. It's just not floppies. It's just not the Wednesday
Yeah,
Warrior crowd. Uh, Dogman outsells the direct market every single time a book comes. Every time it gets reprinted. Hell,
yeah.
so
And if I
like
could jump in, I talk about that a lot.
yeah.
How Dogman, like in 20 years, we're going to see the Dark Knight of Dogman.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
those kids are gonna grow. I mean, okay, the guy who made Dogman made Captain Underpants, and
yes,
I grew up reading Captain Underpants. So now he's doing it again for the generation after me with Dogman,
yeah.
and the
So
cycle is just continuing. So yeah, we're going to get the Dark Knight of Dogman, like
yeah,
Dogman Returns. That's going to be awesome, and I can't wait
so
to see that.
when I make that clarification that like I selfishly want kids to get in the comics, I'm with you. I've seen the numbers and I understand where that is.
Hmm.
Getting them into the floppies, even though I still think there'll be a day where floppies are just digital when we go into a
Yeah,
digital app to get it. I get that, but getting that so I can continue to get my next installment of what the hell Daredevil's doing.
right.
That's what I mean when I selfishly want kids to
Oh,
get into comics.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I'm a floppy fanatic. Don't type that into Google. You're not gonna get good results. Um, we have t-shirts. No, it's I love going into the shop every Wednesday and grabbing the latest issue of whatever Daredevil. I don't even read Daredevil, but um it's a special way of storytelling that is unique to comics where you get 24 pages of story every 30 days and it's built on like cheap cliffhangers and mostly action and melodrama, and a lot of the times it's just junk food, but I love that kind of junk food.
Yep.
And I don't want to see it go away, even though the floppy format in the 21st century, I don't think is sustainable. I do think we will see a day when floppies, whether physical or digital, are just not a thing. I think you're going to see the big publishers move to like seasonal formats, more or less, where they release like 6 issues of Batman at a time as like a one OGN or something, and then they move on to the next thing. Because that's how people consume it, consume their media now. It's much more all in one go. They don't like the drip feed as much, and I guess the reason we like the drip feed is because we were raised on it, and that's the only thing we know is the drip feed. I mean, you see them doing drip feed with like HBO now or Disney Plus, where you get
Yes.
the episode a week again. But I mean, that is just trying to like sustain a subscriber base. It doesn't feel like it's there for the story of the program, more or less. Like, if that makes sense at all. But
Yeah. I land on the side of I like the drip feed
I
of
do too.
like HBO and all that. And I think that you're right, but the addition to that will be is we will it'll probably be Marvel Unlimited still. We'll subscribe to Marvel Unlimited. They'll drip feed the issues, and then their sales pitch will not only be the subscription, blah blah blah, but then like whatever they'll do like boutique hardcovers and stuff.
Mm. The trick is that comics are an expensive and labor intensive art form to create.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless your drip feed is a weekly installment of Spider Man, which is possible, but you're just not going to have a consistent creative team behind that
Yeah,
to make it weekly. So, you're going to be sacrificing quality. And it's going to be very interesting to see what they do, because I'm very curious to see. I'm
yeah.
gonna weep when the floppy dies, but it's I'm very curious to see how they actually either implement it or retool it or abandon it. I'm curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll have multiple creative teams working, so it is more weekly,
You
bi-weekly,
have
something
more
like
like
that.
a Batman Eternal kind of vibe to
Yes,
uh, your floppies. Yeah.
yes,
No, I can see it definitely happening. We'll see if it's actually any good.
yeah. But back to the original question,
Yes.
which was, if you don't remember, it was, is it more special for kids? Do you feel like it's more special when
It
kids get
is.
your book and get into it? Yeah.
I love it. I'm not under the impression that I'm making a lifelong floppy fanatic, you know. Uh, but it is really special to see a kid grab an issue of Mechaton and fall in love with it and immediately want the next one. So no, that makes me feel good. Yeah.
Awesome. So you also mentioned it when you're talking about all the different books you do. You recently shipped out issue 2 of Frankenstein Unconquered.
Mm-hmm.
It's in everybody's hands, including mine, and we talked about it on the show. Uh, got it, read it, and it was everything you told me it was. It was definitely right down my alley. It was
Good. I'm glad I didn't have to lie.
yeah. It was a twist on like the barbarian story with Frankenstein supernatural elements. I don't want to spoil too much, but like especially the ending to issue 2 and what you did
Mm-hmm.
there really just subverted my expectation of what was going to happen. How is that series going for you? And I'm assuming we're going to get more of it coming
Oh,
forward.
oh, no doubt. Frank was always envisioned as an ongoing. So, uh, and by ongoing, I mean I think we have 13 issues of it planned out so far. So we're definitely coming back for more Frank. I believe we have a Kickstarter plan for the fall for issue 3 and 4 combo. But Frank is by far our most successful series, and we've only done 2 issues of it. But people seem to really like the, if not the book, at least the boobs on the variant cover. So it blew past expectations for issue number 2. So that is one of those books that makes sense to continue doing floppies for, because you get the advantage of doing variant covers for it and everything. People seem to really like the I don't know, the single issue collector uh, thing we're doing with Frankenstein. Mechaton is proving to not so much work as a floppy. It's probably better if we ended up collecting that going forward into bigger chunks. So it's very interesting working in the Kickstarter space, seeing what does and doesn't work in the realm of self-publishing and crowdfunding, seeing what different audiences want out of their stories. So while both are successful, both aren't necessarily suited for the same format. So it's really nice to see Frankenstein do so well as a floppy. It makes my old heart feel good, and we're excited to keep pumping those out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a book that after reading it works really well as a floppy and issue to
Mm-hmm.
issue kind of thing, because you're doing while the story does flow through both issues, it is a
It's a one
this
and done.
week's
Yeah.
adventure. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
Frank is built as a one and done. Every issue is like an episode of an old western. Guy rides into town, solves a problem, and leaves. Or in Frank's case, burns the town down. So it gives you a chance to really be episodic and be as creative as possible while still having some through lines going through. Yeah.
it makes me happy to hear it's going to continue because I really enjoyed those two
Oh yeah, you
issues.
you haven't seen the last of Frank and Larry. Like okay. If you thought the end of number 2 was a nice twist on the expectation, just wait till you get to the end of issue number 3, because then Frank and Larry's relationship becomes even more twisted and wild, and it's my favorite relationship in the entire series. So it makes my heart happy, and also it breaks for Larry every time because I love Larry and he deserves better.
Awesome. So speaking of the different ways to do Kickstarters, and I'll say I've always heard that the best way to do any Kickstarter comic. I mean, I guess you guys have created a following, so maybe this works a little different for you guys. But for starting out, is to do the issue to issue because you can build a following up to the final. And with this, from everything I've been told, this new Kickstarter you're doing, you're going against the grain and doing it as a graphic novel. So everybody, we're talking about Depths, the new graphic novel that you guys have on Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the best way to start this is just to explain what Depths is.
Yeah, Depths is our graphic novel about Emil Parker, who is a scientist in the 1930s who develops a perpetual diving suit so he can stay underwater and explore as long as he wants. Unfortunately, on the test run, an accident occurs and he gets stranded at sea for 3 years. So the book is really about his survival, his attempt to come home, his depression, his grief, anxiety. Like he's not just trying to survive the ocean. He's trying to uh, figure out what's going on in his own head. And while upstairs on the surface, his best friend James is also dealing with all of those same issues, but he's a little more manic. He's trying to find his best friend. He doesn't think he's dead like the rest of the world does. So it's a tale about these two guys trying to find each other again and try to get over their daddy issues.
So with my intro to that, I brought up you're doing it as a graphic novel,
Mm-hmm.
not as issue to issue. So I guess why go that route for this one?
So when I first started creating Depths, it was always intended to be a 7-issue miniseries. Uh, and the more we did Kickstarter, the more we realized that a literary miniseries about a sad boy underwater is not going to light Kickstarter on fire with every campaign. That's an uphill battle. Uh, to ask an audience to come back 7 times for this book that maybe might break even with every campaign, kind of like Mechaton. Mechaton is a struggle to break even on some campaigns because all ages floppies just are not built for Kickstarter. People that's not the audience that is on Kickstarter, which is I don't think the audience for Depths either. The ones who want the more heady literary stuff aren't looking for floppies; they're looking for graphic novels. So we decided to repackage Depths, and instead of making a 7-issue miniseries, we're making a 2-volume graphic novel. The first 4 are in this book right here, and then the final 3 are going to be in book 2. And it felt like the best way to move forward with Depths, the best way to get the most eyes on it, the best way to get give it the most success possible in an environment like crowdfunding.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it's one of those books where if I saw, like, let's say Image was putting it out and I
Mm-hmm.
saw the week to week, I'd probably trade weight.
Right. And it's
And
also one of those books that we couldn't do first. Like, this is the first book Wells and I ever worked on together, and it's been sitting on the back burner for like almost 10 years. But we couldn't make it the first book we announced to the world. It's like, hey, we have this massive graphic novel here for you. You've never heard of us. Our resume has no credits on it, but would you want to give us money for it? No, you have to. We had to bust down the door with Mechaton, which was like really fun and light and energetic, and appealed to way more people than just the lit heads. And then Frankenstein was a little closer. We got a little more mature with it, but we were still over the top and action packed. And then we were like, okay, we've got a pretty wide range of audiences here. I think in here we can find an audience for Depths, and then hopefully bring in a lot more.
yeah, not to mention a book like this requires a little bit more ambitious of a goal in
Yes.
terms of funding.
Yeah.
So for your first time around to ask for, I mean, you guys are looking for
20
20K.
grand. Yeah.
You're almost halfway there as of this recording.
Mm-hmm.
For your first one, that is I mean, for any Kickstarter, that's an ambitious goal. But for your first one,
Yeah.
you never see it
With
unless
like
your name is Scott
zero
Snyder.
zero backed, no comic credits. Here you go. Give me $20,000 and you might see this comic book. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Not a good look.
I think, I mean, right off the bat, they say never judge a book by its cover, but of course we do it all the time. And you guys got some
Comics are
great
built for it.
covers.
Yep.
I think you got 3 covers that you're
Mm-hmm.
showing on here, and each one is just as good as the last. I mean, talk about the cover artists for these ones.
Yeah, so our A cover is by our series artist Jay Chic. It's the one with Emil stuck in the champagne glass. That one is it's so hard to pick favorites, so I won't say it's my favorite, but uh, it does a great job of capturing the thematic elements of the book, the high society that Emil comes from, the depths itself, the predatory nature of his environment. Like it's a stunning cover, and the blacks uh, really pop, and it just Jay's art is so inky and grounded on its own that it really that cover sings.
And
Uh,
I'll just jump in. It's one of those covers it's minimalist in what it's
mm-hmm,
showing. I mean, it's
mm-hmm,
very detailed. The art's phenomenal, but it's minimalist in what's showing. There's a lot
mm-hmm.
of empty space, but it tells a story in
It
one
does.
image.
Yes. No.
And
It.
that's out of the 3, that's the best in terms of that quality.
Yeah. No. It's the A cover tells you what the book is. Like that. That's what it does. And then our variant covers are nice. Fun little excursions. We have a B cover from Serge Acuna, which we love working with Serge. We actually worked with him on our first publication, Descent into Dread. He actually did one of the stories in the anthology where we called it a wash, I think. And it was literally, we took the characters from Depths and put them in like a horror setting under the water. So it's, non-canon, but it's the first time you actually get to see Emil and James and everybody in this 8-page horror short. So we thought it was really cool if we brought Serge back to do the variant cover, and you get to see this action-packed thing between Emil and the Kraken, kind of the inciting incident of the whole thing. It's like everything Serge does. It's gorgeous, and it makes me want an anime of it real bad.
Yes.
And then our hardcover. So those are Jay's and Serge's covers are the paperback, and then we have our hardcover, which is by Heather Vaughn, who you'll know from Frankenstein. She does all of our A covers. So she does like a much more trippy psychological. Uh, it's it could be a blacklight poster kind of cover. It's everyone seems to really gravitate towards that one. It's kind of become like I think it's Wells's Twitter profile pick right now. Like it's kind of like besides Tina Isola's print, which is like running on the banners all throughout the Kickstarter, this has kind of become the face of the campaign as well. And it's going to be a gorgeous hardcover when it gets in your hands.
Yeah, and that it's really great. It's aesthetically pleasing. I really like it. I know you're not picking favorites. I will. The A cover is my favorite. I mean, just
Hell yeah,
it
rock
tells
on.
so much with that image.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the B cover with the squid is phenomenal. It's a great still image
Mm-hmm.
that works really well. And that I think that image for the hardcover is going to work really well. You
Yes,
can tell with the
very
way it wraps
prestige.
around. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but that A cover for me is the winner, and
Well,
in
good
my
because you can
eyes.
grab as many copies of the A cover as you want, man.
And you guys you always do some cool little additions to the
Mm-hmm.
campaign. As I go down, I mean, there's collector tier. If you want to get all three of these amazing covers, you
Mm-hmm.
can.
And they all come with a digital copy, every tier. Yeah.
Yes, and if you want to get all three and some of your old work, you can. You can do all that stuff.
You can grab Descent into Dread, where these guys first appeared, drawn by Serge Acuna.
There you go. And then you've got the commission
Mm-hmm.
from, I believe it's from the interior artist. Am I
Yes,
correct
from
there?
Jay. Mm-hmm.
Yes, which is always great. I talk about this a lot. It feels a lot like, especially years ago, it's starting to turn, but Kickstarters came around and the artist kind of disappeared, went on to the next project, and the writers were left for the most part. I know some artists were the writers, but the writers are left to do this campaign. I love seeing the artist involved in the campaign somewhat to help
Mm-hmm.
fund the book.
Yeah, no,
So
it's always important with every project we do to involve our team as best as possible because the book doesn't happen without them. Like
yes,
depth's just like lines on a piece of paper without them. So, uh, no, to get them involved and to be a significant part of the campaign, it's always great because you're not just getting depths at that point. You're getting like Jay's version of Ghost Rider or Fernando's version of Spider-Man. Like whatever you want, you can get that commission, and it's they're always worth it.
yeah. So kudos to you for doing that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the always awesome Draw Me In book. So
Yes.
I'm assuming that's for volume 2.
No, it'll be for volume. No, what you see for depths is what we have so far. So like the book needs to be. That's what these funds are for. Is to get it drawn. So we have
Oh,
not. That the draw me ins are for volume 1. So if you're looking to hang out with James and Emil, or just be a background character screaming, go write it like that. That's what this is for. You can either just be a background guy just looking, you can be a background guy with a line, or you can be like a minor character with a scene or two and it's like significant amounts of dialogue with the characters. Whatever floats your goat, really.
yeah. And just to add to that, it's Draw Me In. So you can be a background person.
Mm-hmm.
You can be in the scene. You can even be somebody who has lines.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, like I don't I see a lot of draw me ins where it's you're just like a background character, or you get killed by the main thing or something, but like I don't know of a ton that give you a significant amount to do in the book as a character. And I can't Depths is not a super action heavy book where a lot of people die. I can't promise you'll make it through, but you might get to shake hands with one of the main characters, which is pretty cool.
yeah, that's always, especially for action or horror books, it's like
Mhm.
be killed by the villain.
Yeah.
Which is fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's nice, something a little different.
Yeah.
And just to add, you can also be a background lady as well, everybody.
Yes. We
So
have male-bodied and female-bodied versions of the uh like the scene characters that have a lot of lines. So it's up to you guys. Jump right in.
and then I mean, you guys have been working so hard over the years. You got so many great books out, add-ons. Everything
Yeah,
we've talked
you
about
can
is
grab
an
the
add-on.
catalog. Yep.
Yeah. Have you I mean, I know you guys are still below that halfway point. You're like we said earlier, being ambitious with your goal. have you thought about stretch goals at all, or is your focus solely on just getting the funding done right now?
We're really focused on the funding right now. We've like flirted with stretch goals. I think Wells wants like a bookmark ribbon for the hardcover. That would be really cool.
Oh, that'd be
Um,
awesome.
but we haven't actually sat down and thought about stretch goals. We want to be able to breathe first, so that we can think about stretch goals, and we'll be able to breathe much better if we hit that goal sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that nerdy side of me likes hearing how you creators treat these things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because some go into it with like, when I have all the stretch goals for 100 grand planned out,
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah.
and then some are like, if we get there, I'll think about it.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, like with something like Frankenstein, where we can be pretty confident that we're going to make it, like we'll have stretch goals pretty early on. But this one is such a huge commitment, it's a huge goal. It's our first attempt at anything of this size. So we were like, let's go one step at a time. And if we get there, we get there.
Definitely. So, I mean, did I miss anything on the campaign? I think we
No,
hit pretty much everything.
yeah, that's up and down, yeah.
So I'll say the book looks great. You go to the Kickstarter, everybody. You'll see a bunch of uh, designs for the characters, some scenes that look like you guys have commissioned already to be drawn.
Yeah, we've got the first
Uh,
5 pages all set up.
yes, and then
Mhm.
also those awesome covers we all talked about, including this nice little image you got of all three
Oh, the
going
GIF, yeah.
through. Uh, it just it's a slick looking campaign. I think the book looks awesome, and like I said, that A cover just calls out to you. So everybody agree with me. Do it.
Yeah, yeah, go. I mean, hell, if everyone who listens went and grabbed the A cover, we'd be sitting a little better. Yeah.
Definitely. So Dalton, thanks so much for taking the time. Before we let you
Absolutely.
go, though, social media, where can people follow you, find everything you're doing?
Yeah, I am on all the socials at Dalton K. Shannon. When I decide to post, social media is a cancer, so I try to stay away as much as possible. Uh, but I also have a website, daltonkshannon.com. And right up in my bio on Twitter is a link to sign up for our newsletter, Comics, Cats, and Cocktails, where we talk about those three things. It's a monthly newsletter where you get caught up on all the to do in Studio Shannon and Thompson. And other than that, go check out the Depths Kickstarter. That's running until May 31st, so you have plenty of time to go and grab what you need.
Yeah, everybody. So as always, I'll have those links in the show notes below to Dalton's website and, most importantly, the Kickstarter campaign. So go check it out. Dalton, like I said, the book looks phenomenal. Wishing the
Thank you.
best for you on this one. And thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me back. It's been great as always.